eyesight of you.
Oh, I know.
Definitely.
Yes. I don't know what my question was. Oh, do you think Brandon's a good dresser?
No.
No.
He never was. I would buy these beautiful outfits when he was really little, and he wore them. And gee, it's this. And then when he got to a point where he could pick his own clothes, oh. And when he married Sam, I said, he's your problem now.
I've said this on the podcast before, but I remember, Sam, we were sitting at the dinner table at your house. This was early on, probably like 5 months, maybe 6 months into us dating. And Sam goes, don't worry, chip away at him eventually. And I was like, no, you won't. And, yeah, we've been together for 11 and a half years now.
T-shirt and shorts. Yeah, what was Brandon's most embarrassing moment? Like, did he ever untimely just completely, like, void his balance in a public place? Did he ever throw up on himself, like when he was going out on a first date with a girl?
Yeah, oh my god, it's weird. He was,
This is when he was about 3. He was young. It's just 3, but that's the time that I really remember it.
yeah, sorry about the new house, it's weird. Oh well. Oh, that face actually kind of fits this area for some reason.
He would go to sleep, at night, and it would be under the lightning, and he'd go, and he'd get up and come running into our room. So I always thought of him. So I thought, he's 3 years old. He was, and Dan would say, oh, come on, he's gonna get you. So he's scared. So the minute he came in, he felt safe.
Story similar to the red meat. My dad goes, what's he going to be, 15 and sleeping in our bed? And now I still drive to my parents' house every time and there's my see you later, Sam. I gotta go.
No, but the funny thing is, he would sleep. I didn't dance. He can't move. And so then he would get up and sleep in his bed. And then Brandon would stay there.
Yeah, I'd kick my dad out every time.
What was the biggest argument you ever got into with Brandon? We just didn't.
I think we grew up very differently, Abby. Like, I imagine you had, like, screaming battles with your mom.
Oh, yeah.
We just did not.
No, we didn't argue, really. We probably had disagreements.
19, 20, 21, 22, 23.
I mean, it's funny because on one hand, I'm like, oh, my mom was just like, she babied me, or like she was too nice to me. But it's not like I took advantage and was like getting in trouble every week. So I don't really think they had to change the way they were parenting me. Like, if they were being really nice, but then I was sneaking behind their back and getting into trouble every week, that would be different.
Does Brandon exhibit any character traits that your grandparents had or your aunt did?
Like physical or personality-wise?
Personality-wise.
Because physically, I think I've been told I look a lot like her father, my grandfather, the one that's still alive.
Really? You do?
If you see pictures of him
when he was in his 30s.
If you see pictures of my grandpa when he's old, when he's younger, or you know the filters on like Snapchat or Facebook where they make you look old, I always look just like him because I think he's got like a long head. Yeah. I got a question. Our co-host here, Mr. Abbey, is known for not making the greatest first impressions. Horrific. He grows on you over time. But most people don't really have Abby. What's your first memory of Abby?
That's kind of embarrassing. I didn't know.
Like, I know with Steve, I grew up with Steve in 2nd grade, and my parents were always like, oh, I remember you always talking about, like, a kid at lunch that you liked and thought he was funny. What's your first memory of Abby?
When did I meet him first? Did we
meet him for the first time, probably... Did we film a video at your parents' house before you got married, or no?
Probably.
Yeah, we did. I guess that was the first.
I think that, like, Mr. Beast chocolate one was probably before Sam and I got married.
But had you ever... Because Brandon talks to you a lot, and like he said earlier in the podcast, he calls you up when he's complaining. So, did he ever reference me and, like, stories about me? Obviously, we had the first podcast together, so you knew about me, so...
Well, I was going to say, the first podcast we did is probably when you really got familiar with Abby.
Familiar with Abby,
yeah.
Well, I remember him telling me about when he first met you, and I think you had some kind of break room where you had snacks or something.
Yes.
And the snack
yes,
yeah.
And I guess he wasn't going to talk to Abby, but he says, this guy's funny. He's really funny. I like this guy. So, yeah,
remember that.
Now, remember you told me in a break room, and I think it was that the first room you met.
There was a cubicle. It was like an empty cubicle
Yeah.
at our. Do they still have that, by the way?
No.
No. So there was an empty cubicle that nobody worked in, and it would just be stuffed with snacks. Donuts, bagels, cakes, pastries, and we would always go up there and we would chat. And then we started sitting at literally the lunch table. Then we started eating lunch together every day. That's where the name came from, the lunch table.
But were there times where you had started to hear stories about me or frustrations about me where you were like, I'm skeptical of this person in my son's life?
Well, some of the early podcasts, when you did the other podcasts.
Yeah. The frustrated podcast.
That was our original
I
podcast
forgot.
back in the day.
There were a couple of things you would say. I watch what he says. It's a little volatile,
Yeah. I still am. I just temporary.
I know.
Except this podcast is no longer live.
Yeah.
That was a live podcast, so we couldn't cut anything.
Now, I only edit it now.
I want to give you credit. I was talking to Sam about it yesterday, actually. I was like, I'm not even just saying this to gas you up. I was like, I've been so proud of Abby in this process of the second podcast, because I was like, he's actually learned a ton. Like, he's learned what my idea of how I wanted the podcast to be was. I think he's been obviously able to keep things a lot more under wraps, but also I think he's been coming with content and the personality and the cadence that I imagined as this podcast. And you stuck with that for almost a year now.
Well, I said to you, it was a conversation I had with my wife, who always kind of keeps me under wraps. And I said, the first time around, obviously, I tried to do it the Abbey way. That didn't work. So I said, the proof is in the pudding. The Brandon way works. That's one thing I'll never rag on you for, Brandon. So I said, this time around, I'm doing it the Brandon way. And I hate to work it, and I think it's working again.
Well, you guys have chemistry. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, thank you.
And I really think you really work together.
They legitimately
Feel
love to podcast.
Yeah,
Like,
we
they
do.
will pull up clips. They'll be like, oh, they'll reference parts like 35 minutes into the clip. It's like, oh, it's hilarious telling the story of his father,
Oh, we laugh at mostly what you say. We laugh hysterical. Yep.
Thank you.
Look at
We
that.
do.
I didn't know that part. You didn't have to say that. Chop liver again between Mia and Abby now. We joke around about it. You got to be on the podcast before Dad, but we will have Dad on the podcast probably
you
for
better.
Father's Day.
That's for sure.
Probably for Father's Day. Do you have a question you would like us to ask Dad on the podcast?
Ooh, I like this.
Oh, my goodness.
You can think about it for a second if you want.
Well, I told you guys how I felt about him the night I met him.
You thought,
So
this
I know
is my future husband.
get the same impression I did as far as, this is going to be my husband. But what he thought of me the first night he met me.
All right. I feel like he's going to lie. I feel like he forgets. He forgets the first time he's going to be like, oh, yeah, greatest moment ever.
I loved her blonde hair and everything. It's just... But before we even get to lunchtime, I wanted to flip over the microphone to your mother a little bit. What questions did you have for us?
What's the longevity of this podcast? You're doing great. You're growing, and it's going, but it gets to a point where you're going to say your kids are getting big, responsibilities, or we're done. What's your future goal for the podcast?
So, first thing,
Abby's goal is to sell out Madison Square Garden. He doesn't plan on any ending anytime
I
soon.
was just going to say, first thing, turn your head to your left and ask that question to your son, because this podcast rides or dies with his happiness.
Okay.
What would my actual vision of this podcast be? Would be question. Obviously, I really don't have any in-between expectations. I ultimately think selling out like an arena is possible. I know how stupid that sounds, but I am the type of person who believes that if you start saying stuff into the atmosphere enough, that it eventually can happen. Because pretty much everything in my life has happened. Well, besides me dating Dua Lipa. But everything in my life has tended to happen.